For Abbotsford West.
Thanks, Mr. Speaker. We all remember last fall's famous leaked memo disclosing the Premier's demand for a big and shiny pre-election announcement. Well, the largest inflationary budget deficit in the history of BC certainly qualifies as big. But it turns out the shiny bauble is going to be a paltry rebate from BC Hydro that works out to about 25 cents per day. But if that isn't bad enough, Mr. Speaker, we now know that in a classic NDP rebate and switch, 3 weeks ago, the Cabinet signed off on an order changing the definition of inflation in a way that would actually allow for a BC Hydro rate increase of up to 16%. So my question is this: why is the Premier publicly telling British Columbians that rate increases will be held to the annual rate of inflation? At the same time, he and the Cabinet are quietly signing orders that would allow for a rate increase of up to 5 times that amount.
Minister of Energy, Mines and Low Carbon Innovation.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Well, I'm sorry to hear that the member doesn't feel that providing a rebate to people at a time when they're facing the cost of inflation and high interest rates, the high cost of housing, the high cost of childcare, all of the things that we're doing to provide money for people, put it back in their pockets. I'm sorry to hear that the member doesn't think that's a good thing to do.
Members, let
Speaker,
the Minister finish her answer, please.
Mr. Speaker, we know that people are struggling right now, and that's why the BC Electricity Affordability Rebate puts money back on through people's hydro bills back into their pockets so they can spend it on the things we know they need and want to do that. But Mr. Speaker, that's not the only action our government is taking to help people with the cost of living. Reducing childcare fees, reducing ICBC premiums, eliminating several years ago one of the biggest tax cuts in history here, eliminating MSP premiums, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we know that people need help, and that's why our government is here at people's backs, and we're going to continue to support them in every way that we can. Thank you.
Abbotsford West supplemental.
Thanks, Mr. Speaker. Well, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there are going to be parades in towns across British Columbia celebrating that 25 cents a day. It's possible. But I think what's more likely, Mr. Speaker, is that people are going to see through the manipulation. The manipulation that involves the Premier and now Minister touting a bauble that equates to 25 cents a day, pretending to provide assurance that future increases will be at the annual rate of inflation, when in fact they are quietly signing cabinet orders that would allow for a post-election rate increase of 5 times that amount, Mr. Speaker. On top of that, clear evidence that the Minister, the Premier, the government won't take no for an answer. After firing the chair and the CEO of the Utilities Commission, BC Hydro has launched an unprecedented 4 reconsideration requests, Mr. Speaker. The question again to the Premier, with the possibility of a rate increase of up to 16% looming after the next election, why should British Columbians derive any comfort from the Premier's big and shiny 25-cent pre-election promise?
Minister.
Once again, Mr. Speaker, I find it astonishing that somebody would laugh at a rebate people are getting on their BC Hydro bills. The fact that We understand that people are facing challenges right now, and they need every bit of help they can get, Mr. Speaker. But, Mr. Speaker, the member's asking questions about BC Hydro, and I guess I'm glad he is, because I think he doesn't want to talk about their government's record on BC Hydro when they were on this side of the House. Mr. Speaker, under their 10-year rates plan, families today would be paying $140 more on their BC Hydro bill than they are now. Mr. Speaker, under their leadership, rates skyrocketed 80%. That's 5% a year on average over the 16 years on this side of the House. Mr. Speaker, we're not doing that. We understand that people need affordable energy rates. We're taking action. BC Hydro's last application for rates increase holds at 2.3% a year. Mr. Speaker, we're working hard to make sure people have the energy they need, the efficient appliance they need, the ability to switch to heat pumps, and, Mr. Speaker, affordable energy bills. Thank you.